Good morning, and we are live. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry we started a little bit late. We were having some technical issues, and you know how that always goes. I was set up for like 20 minutes already, and then all of a sudden, right before we're supposed to go live, the computer freezes. So, welcome to this edition of Ask Me Anything with Impact Hub Houston's Executive Director, Grace Rodriguez, and Deputy Director, Michelle Avalos. As many of you may know, we are here to help social entrepreneurs, change makers, innovators at any step in their journey to from ideation to funding to launch and beyond. And we know we have a lot of programs, a lot of information out there for everyone in this community. And so this series of Ask Me Anything is intended to help you learn a little bit more about what programs and initiatives we have and where we can fit best in your journey as a social entrepreneur, change maker, or innovator, and how we can help you best and serve you to get your venture out there to make that impact in the world that you want to make. So, having said that, let's get started with our conversation today. As you may also know, we are an inclusive, intentional, and international community. And so, let's get started with this conversation around our DEI centered programs. Grace, would you like to get us started?
Sure. So, as Ann said, I am Executive Director of Impact Hub Houston. And when we were designing Impact Hub Houston, we really looked at first what is happening across the global network. We're one of over 100 impact hubs in over 56 countries around the world. So, you can imagine our global network is just as diverse as Houston is. So we were looking at our global network and some best practices there, and then also what was happening across our ecosystem. So prior to co-founding Impact Hub Houston, I was a co-founder of Station Houston and had also worked at DFJ Mercury before it became Mercury Fund, and was very active in the local tech startup and entrepreneurial and design actually scene. And we saw that there was just a real need, although we were talking a lot about Houston's diversity, there was a real need for much more inclusive programs, a much more equitable lens through which we start developing our programs and connecting the different organizations to empower our diverse entrepreneurs and change makers and problem solvers. And when we were thinking about how do we structure Impact Up Houston, we thought about how do we meet people where they are, not just in terms of geography, because as you know, Houston is not just one of the largest cities in terms of population, but also in size. It takes like at least 2 hours, it seems like, to drive across the entire city, and that's going like even maximum speed limit. So how do we meet people geographically? How do we meet people culturally? How do we meet people with different levels of technical savvy, technical skill, entrepreneurial education, or from beginner, novice to advanced? And then how do we make sure that we're working with a lot of different organizations that are already in those spaces and that are helping diverse populations and or helping diverse startups at different stages? So with all of that, we thought about there's the general membership, right? So if you want to be part of our community, you can become a community member, which is like the easiest way of being a participant in the Impact Hub Houston member community, and gives you access to your peers really, and to our pool of mentors, to our programs for free, and then to our monthly group mentorship. And then the next level up, we were thinking about, so as we are helping people connect, how do we really empower and inspire people? And to empower them, we also launched the Accelerate membership, which is more one-to-one mentorship, being able to access our workspace outside of regular business hours, so our community members still get to access our workspace during regular business hours. And then thanks to a partnership with the Canon, our members are also able to work out of the Canon spaces during regular business hours. So that working with the Canon helped start reaching people in a geographical way, for like meeting people where they are. And Lawson Gao, founder of the Canon, also shared that same vision and mission of how do we meet people where they are. So geographically, we got that down. Then second, programmatically, how do we meet people where they are? At the first year of launching Impact Hub Houston, we were running, it seems like at least 8 programs a week or something like that. It was crazy. Michelle and I were going crazy trying to do a lot of different things and helping a lot of different people in different ways. So we had a lot of different programs, and we started to pare back and really think about which programs are really providing the most impact for the people who are trying to solve our city's most pressing issues. And especially during the pandemic, we were looking at how do we meet people where they are in terms of that too. Really making sure that we're meeting them at the stage that they're at, where other organizations might not be supporting as many people as possible in those areas, where there are gaps. And then how do we make sure that there's much more intentional programs that are serving people? So we paused fundraising for these specific programs, but we are going to reboot that and start launching fundraising again for support for this Emprende Impacto program, which is a pre-accelerator program specifically for entrepreneurs who learn better in Spanish. That you might, it might be your first language, you might be an immigrant, or you might just feel more comfortable learning in Spanish or want to learn in Spanish, which would be really cool. But so it is a pre-accelerator program that is hosted in Spanish. I don't know if you can hear my cats, but they're going crazy right now. And then we have a female founders bootcamp program, which thankfully, in partnership with the Texas Workforce Commission or Workforce Solutions, the Houston Galveston Area Council, and Mass Challenge, we were able to host our first female founders bootcamp this year, post-pandemic. But we still have that programming, and we are planning on doing more female founder boot camps within the next several quarters. And we also had a female founder cohort that was sponsored by Frost Bank to go through our Accelerate member program. And then we also have a youth entrepreneurship program, which I'm hoping that we'll be able to launch in 2022 with a number of our ed tech entrepreneurs, because we have found that so many entrepreneurs that are in education or in the education space, ed tech space, are really attracted to Impact Hub Houston because they obviously want to make an impact by supporting young people at a lot of different stages in a lot of different ways. So we're looking to launch that next year. And then we also have, the inspirational programs. So across the global network, we work to inspire, connect, and empower people. The inspiration part has come through our hosting of programs like TEDx Houston Women, TED Circles, our Open Project Night. As you all know from our last AMA, we merged with Sketch City to launch Code for Houston, which is, we serve as the Code for America Brigade in Houston. So we host a lot of these other types of programs that invite the community to come in, to speak, to present, to connect, and to just get inspired by a lot of ideas of what needs to be solved and what can be solved and how people are solving those issues in Houston. So that's a lot, sorry.
No, I was looking for my unmute mic. No, and as we mentioned, we do have a lot of programs and initiatives, and I think one of the hesitations for many entrepreneurs, maybe they're not sure where to get started, and so if we can help you figure out where best that we fit into your journey, then you can just start there, or even just start by reaching out to Grace or Michelle and having that conversation. Like, here's my idea, here's where I am. Where do you think Impact Hub Houston would best fit in my journey at this point? And I know you both are very open to having those conversations with folks in Houston. So I put in the links for Emprende Impacto. I was asking Michelle, did I pronounce that correctly? I'm trying to get my Spanish down. And then also included the link to Open Project Night, which our next one is October. What date is that, Michelle?
13th.
October 13th.
Eventbrite will go out in a few days.
Awesome. And then I know that we mentioned female founders just now. And so as we're getting more information and for the next cohort, please follow our social media channels, and we'll make sure to get that information out to you, or hop on over to our website, and then we will be able to get you signed up for our newsletter, which Michelle sends out on a monthly basis to everyone to make sure that you're updated on events. Now, I know we just were partnered with a launch for a really unique ecosystem serving minority and women-owned businesses, BEAMW, so BEAMW. So I'd love for you to share a little bit more about that, either Grace or Michelle.
Sure. So BEAMW, or the Business Ecosystem Alliance for Minorities and Women, was the evolution. It's the next stage of the evolution of the Women and Minority Business Task Force that was started under Council Member Amanda Edwards, or Amanda when she was at City Council. And the task force provided a set of recommendations. We did a lot of research. This included over 80 different small business and startup development organizations across the entire region to help inform a report and recommendations to the mayor's office of what can be done to really help more women and minority entrepreneurs, startups, and small businesses. And after we delivered the report, this was at in August of 2019, we wanted to make sure that the work continued. And so a lot of the organizations that were part of the task force continued to work through an alliance, and we named that alliance BEAMW. So the work of the alliance, if you go to the website, as Anne mentioned, BEAMW.org, you'll be able to access the report there and then see some of the recommendations and some of the data basically on why this is really needed for Houston and for the people that we're trying to support, the change makers and problem solvers and entrepreneurs we're trying to support. But the idea is for Impact Hub Houston was, let me back up. Impact Hub Houston was selected unanimously, and we weren't even there, but to be the fiscal sponsor for the Alliance and to help shepherd and kind of quarterback some of the activities that are happening across the Alliance. And the goal really is to help with connections. So one of the biggest issues that a lot of women and minority businesses face is a lack of networks. So when we talk about getting funding from friends and family, a lot of times people don't have that kind of friends and family network that's able to put in $100,000 or $1 million into a startup. So how do we help people grow those networks? And how do people grow the networks also in terms of clients and customers, so they build their corporate and business networks as well? There's also financial readiness, so making sure that people have one-to-one financial credit counseling. How do they have one-to-one more in-depth business consulting and mentorship and guidance as they're growing their business, again, at those different stages to meet people where they are? And then how do we make sure that there's more support on the growth and scale side? So there's a lot of interest in developing these anchor procurement processes or policies or guidelines, helping more corporations understand how to work with small businesses and helping more small businesses understand how to work with large corporations so that both sides are prepared for a really successful relationship moving forward. Currently, we were happy to announce that Texas Capital Bank is our first anchor sponsor, and they've provided a $100,000 community impact grant that's distributed over 4 years. So for the next 4 years, we're going to be working with all of the different organizations that are part of the Alliance to deliver one-to-one financial counseling, which you can apply for on that website on beamw.org. And then you're also able to have access to these networking forums with different bankers in the city. And so keep an eye out to our social media too, because we'll be posting all of this through Impact Hub Houston to learn more about that as well.
And such valuable programs and information for minority-owned and women-owned businesses, because as you mentioned, oftentimes the networks are limited, and so these entrepreneurs don't know who to reach out to or where to reach out for funding information. And so I love the fact that we are part of this ecosystem and alliance. And then speaking of grants, we are also partnered with Harris County for the relief fund that just opened up the application process. And they had their last info session yesterday. And do y'all know if that was recorded?
I'm not sure.
Okay, we can check with them. But if you go to their website, harriscountyrelief.org, I'll find the exact site. For some reason, I don't have it up already. All the eligibility information is there. As well as what's required. And so if you're a small or micro business registered in Harris County, you may be eligible to apply for this. Would either of you like to share any other additional comments or information for this particular relief fund?
Sure, I'll jump in real quickly. So The website is harriscountybusinessrelief.org. You can also access it by going to our website, to houston.impacthub.net, and scrolling down to the latest news where we announce the partnership with Lift Fund, because Lift Fund is the administrator for these funds, and they're partnering with a number of organizations across the greater Houston region. So, please feel free to also reach out directly to Lift Fund if you need support with applying for grants. And the great thing about this is it's not a loan. These are $5,000 to $25,000 grants that you don't have to pay back, and it's not first come first serve, so you don't have to worry about the money just going away to whoever was able to apply first. But really, it's about a score, and so the way they score it, if you look at the scoring methodology on that website, harriscountybusinessrelief.org. You're scored on ownership, so there's a preference for women-owned and or minority-owned and or veteran-owned businesses. There's preference for people who have previously received funding. There is a social vulnerability index. So if you live in an area that is more socially vulnerable, you can visit the website to find out where you are and whether that is in a more socially vulnerable area. And the great thing about that is it's really providing more an equity lens, right? Making sure that people who are in these vulnerable areas are also getting better access to funding. And then there's, an employee count. So if your business has fewer than 10 employees, you're also given preference, again, because sometimes the smallest businesses are the ones that are most hard hit, most heavily hit. And then finally, industry. So there is a preference also for restaurant, retail, and healthcare and social assistance businesses, again, because we know that they've been some of the hardest hit businesses from the pandemic, because during the shutdown, people weren't able to go go to these businesses that have usually higher density of people within the space. There's also a middle priority for businesses that provide administrative support or are in arts, entertainment, recreational, professional, scientific, and tech services. So, if you are in any of those areas and you really need some help right now, I would highly recommend applying for this grant. Making sure that you, and if you need help, you can also reach out to them directly. Again, on the website is all the contact information for Lift Fund. If you'd like to reach out to us, you're more than welcome to. Again, go to our website and you'll find the link to that page on the homepage. Just scroll down.
One thing I actually wanted to add on that, we've already started to process some inquiries as well that have come our way. And one of the main questions I keep receiving from entrepreneurs is the question of, should I even apply? And if you have not previously received, I know that I keep hearing this, you were probably so tired of pulling all these documents together, applying, and not receiving support. And if you don't apply, you definitely will not receive support. So I definitely encourage you to do so. If you have not received previous aid, that is actually to your benefit. Each of the categories that Grace just mentioned is going to be equally weighed, and it'll have a maximum of points for each of those categories. If you have already received previous PPP, EIDL loan, or any other Harris County grants, that actually drops your score slightly for that category. So it's so that the small businesses out there that have not been able to get any support have a better probability of receiving it this time around. And so please apply, pull your documents together, take advantage of the resources, and just take a shot and see if you'll be able to receive support this time around.
That's really encouraging to hear that there are these different ways for the score, because you're right. As an entrepreneur and a small business owner myself, I know it's just so hard to think, oh, I've got to get all these documents together, my tax return, my tax information, and my business license. And so it's very, very encouraging to hear that there are other eligibility requirements. So as Michelle and Grace have both said, get out there and apply. What's that Nike saying? Just do it. And then there are materials and information in both Spanish and Vietnamese for those who need those language documents and information. And it's on the Harris County website here, the URL that we've got on the screen, and I've dropped it in the comments as well. So other exciting news that we want to share real quick, Grace or Michelle, I know we just wrapped up, I think, Houston Hackathon, and we've got Climathon coming up.
Yeah, so submissions were due at noon today for the Houston Hackathon projects. We're already seeing, yeah,
Got
three at
three
least.
minutes.
And we're seeing some projects come in. It was great because a lot of the people continued hacking after the kickoff event last weekend. And so I would pop into Discord and chat with them. And there were some people who were super excited. There's one person that was participating from Canada. And it's been, yeah, it's been so inspiring just to see how many people are really working to solve some of Houston's most pressing issues and just really care that much about Houston. And, that's going to lead into the Climathon happening next month. So, everyone, if you're interested in participating in developing climate solutions or solutions for climate action, climate change, please, again, pay attention to our feed, subscribe to the newsletter, and you'll definitely get information on how you can do that. Or you can just go to climathonhouston.org. Yeah, and then Anne just dropped the link there. And I also want to invite Michelle to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month, right? So there's so many things that are happening this month, and Michelle has been our representative, our liaison, both to the Latin American impact hubs and then just to the broader community. So Michelle, you want to talk about what you've been doing?
We are in sync right now because literally that's what I was going to talk about next. So,
well, this is why you both work so well together.
We are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Es el mes de celebrar la cultura hispana, nuestra herencia hispana. And this is actually a full month. It started September 15th, and it's going to go all the way through October 15th. I am sure that if you're scrolling through any event page today, you'll find tons and tons and tons of gatherings, virtual events, and all kinds of opportunities to celebrate the culture. One thing I did want to note is that October 15th, so at the closing of Hispanic Heritage Month, Impact Hub is actually partnered with the SBA, Baker Ripley, and HCC to host a Cumbre Empresarial Hispana, or a Hispanic Business Summit. And the whole focus of that is it's only an hour and a half. It will be virtual on Zoom. But it's set up to help honor and celebrate the hard work of Latino entrepreneurs all across the U.S. and abroad, and we'll be featuring some wonderful keynotes that it will be announced very soon. But I'll drop the bit.ly in the chat in a second, and we would love for you guys to sign up and attend. And one other resource I wanted to share as you're trying to learn more about Hispanic Heritage Month, even if you are not Hispanic, that's fine. We want you to learn about our culture. Is to visit the Hispanic Star website. They've been doing so much research over more than a year. And have put together some really great graphics and different presentation materials that you can use to share on your social medias. You can show it to your employees at work. You can do so many things with that data, but there are some very, very wonderful statistics on there about the work and the contribution that the Hispanic community is doing for our country. And I would just love to invite you all to learn about that and to join us October 15th for the Cumbre Empresarial Hispana.
I love that. And part of being an inclusive community is, you're right, you don't have to be Hispanic or Latin to help celebrate. In fact, when I was in college, I was part of the Hispanic Business Students Association, by the way.
Me too! HBSA!
Yes, HBSA, exactly. Because
HBSA.
Yes, shout out to HBSA, exactly. Because it is an inclusive community. And I love the fact that even though I wasn't Hispanic, I was still welcome. So there you go. And I dropped the URL on the screen there, hispanicstar.org. Thank you, Grace, for sharing that. And we'll drop it into the comments as well. So how exciting. And I love that there's so many celebrations and events going on focused around Hispanic Heritage Month. So I think we're getting to our wrap up. Any final last things that we want to share with everybody?
This is our busiest time of year, right? So we have the Climathon happening in October. We also have Global Entrepreneurship Week and the Houston Innovation Summit again this year. So I would say just stay tuned. Keep up to date with everything that's happening with Impact Hub Houston. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter, because that's the way to make sure that you see everything, because sometimes I know things can get lost in your feeds, especially with people getting so busy also during the same period of time that you might not be able to check in on social media. So please subscribe to our newsletter, and we'll make sure that you have first, the latest scoop from Impact Hub Houston.
Absolutely. And I also dropped the link there for our calendar of events. That's a great place to keep track of everything as well as we update all the things that are happening within these next few months. In fact, this last part of the year. So I hope that this AMA has helped you all to get a little bit more in tune and knowledgeable with what's going on with Impact Hub Houston. We will continue these periodically just to share information and update everyone. And hope to see you at an event or joining our membership as Grace had mentioned, both the community and the accelerated memberships. And don't hesitate to reach out to either Grace or Michelle just to have a conversation about what that looks like for your business. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. If you're catching the replay, please feel free to drop a question or a comment, and we'll be happy to get back to you. And we have included all the links to everything we've talked about today, and we'll see you soon on another Ask Me Anything. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you
everybody.
so much.